Hey everybody, it's Bust bringing you 5 things to think about before the Worldwalker expansion comes out. And so, the full spoiler has been released. This video is coming at you right now. 3 or 4 hours or so once this video is released, the new card should be out there coming at you as well. And so I wanted to take a little bit of time before the new set comes out, talk about some of the big things with the meta that I think we'll see and some of the interesting things I think we could maybe do to get ahead of the meta and save ourselves some time with some worthless deck building as well. And so, first and foremost, I think the big thing to think about out of this set is going to be Annie. Lots of people immediately coming to the conclusion that you can put Annie in an aggro deck. Well done. You can do that. You can put Annie in an aggro deck, and I think that's what you should do. It's what we're going to be doing on the first day. But we're seeing lots of people trying to pair Annie with Jhin, and I think this is a flat out mistake right from the get go. I do accept that both of the cards have this kind of thing for fast spells, slow spells, or skills, whatever we're going to call that, stack abilities. I don't know. Somebody will come up with a word for it, but I think Annie belongs in these kind of ultra aggressive style decks, your pirates and burn decks of the world, and I think Jhin is going to belong in a more mid-rangey style of thing. And so I think right from the get-go we're going to see a lot of these decks that are just like Annie's, Jhin's, 30 units, and then like 3 decimates and 3 knocks and fervors, and I don't think that that's going to cut it that well. I don't think the addition of all of the Jhin cards work good in that Annie aggro shell, and then I don't think the aggressive Annie cards, our Annies and our Legion rearguards of the world, are going to play well with Jhin. I think he belongs in some kind of more mid-rangey style number. Maybe he gets to play with Yasuo, who knows? I don't know. I don't have the best pairing in the world for Jhin, but I know that good pairing is not with Annie. Okay, and so thing number 2 I wanted to talk about is I do expect, even though it's poor, that we're going to see a lot of Annie Jhin right from the get go. There's going to be a lot of carryover, just kind of like piracy style decks. Just lots and lots of aggro things are going to be coming at you over the upcoming weeks. Just because Noxus is the first champion set, or the first like build around set released here, and that's just kind of the way that the flavor is going to go. Now, I think one of the kind of interesting things that we haven't seen here recently, and I think is immediately going to get an uptick, is the usage of sea monsters. And so there's 2 sea monsters cards coming out of the new set. There is Undergrowth, a 3 damage drain 2. Also has Toss attached to it. And then there's the Mega Tusk, a 3/4 for 4 that when you're deep, it heals your allies and your nexus. Both of these are extremely powerful in the face of aggro decks. And so having a 3/4 for 4 mana should be good enough for a 2 for 1 on your opponent's attacks. Undergrowth is extremely good if we're just kind of playing off curve a little bit. And so if we have a draw to where we play a 2-drop on turn 2, a 2-drop on turn 3, then we have that 2 spell mana banked up. It's very easy on turn 4 to play a 3-drop plus an Undergrowth or something. Or the way I'm kind of envisioning a lot of things happening with sea monsters is playing a deck that has both Vile Feast and Undergrowth in it. Just have this kind of mountain of drains that are out here and ready to shut down an opponent's early game start. I mean, if it even comes down to it, you can just bank 1 mana on the first turn and then Undergrowth and Annie on turn 2. It's not the most efficient way to be doing things, but you do have a value generating way to take advantage of that Annie early. You have another mid-gamey kind of sea monster here in the Mega Tusk, and then if you do manage to hit deep, you get this full on heal from the Mega Tusk. And so the heal isn't something that should be happening until turn 7 or so, but if you get to protect a couple of units, heal a bit of health, it helps immensely against pirates. Now, the thing that has been the kind of perennial struggle for the world for sea monsters is we always talk about this concept in terms of the Sun Disk, as to where you either need units with Overwhelm, you need units with Elusive, or you need a Rally. And that has been kind of the problem with sea monsters from the get-go, is there's no deck in the game that's better at just getting a mountain of stats on the board fast. And then there's also no deck in the game that does such a shitty job of utilizing that mountain of stats. And Bilgewater's just never really had a good way to rally, right? The Playful Trickster has never really popped off. The card that has me interested out of the new set as well is Blood in the Water. Yes, it says Lurk on it. I did the mathematic on this. I read the card. It says Lurk. It doesn't mean that you have to play this in a Lurk deck. And so, as we've seen, the growth of the rally-based decks coming out of Demacia, I think we have to stop and consider, are we willing to spend this amount of mana in another faction to get this rally? And with sea monsters, you're probably quite willing to do that. There's just like so many sequences of the games to where you get to attack with like 30 power of units. Your opponent blocks with like 6 mana worth of dudes. They don't take any damage, and then they just continue on as usual, and they keep on with their game plan and kill you doing whatever they're normally doing. And so I think Blood in the Water is actually a quite interesting addition to decks outside of Lurk. Yes, it says Lurk on it, but dealing 1 to anything is extremely relevant, whether or not that's to hit a plunder or to kill a unit. And then getting the rally along with it is the big thing coming out of this. And so I think the combination of these 3 cards will be a big addition to the Sea Monsters deck. Okay, then thing number 3. Paparo the Great. Oh, clicked on the wrong one. Here we go. The Yordles have always been in a pretty decent spot. They had to come in and nerf the Yordle Explorer. There's this really high quality set of Yordles just in the follower space, and Yordle Squire, Yordle Explorer, that's the +1 attack one. There's a Yordle Smith, that's a quick attack one. And then the Yordle Captain, the 4-drop one that gives your smaller units +1/+1. You've had a really easy time just generating this mountain of stats, and then you could take advantage of that however you chose. You could play challengers for the quick attack one. You most often look towards Demacia for rallies and for playing Poppy, but Paparo the Great fits in there nicely. If we look at kind of the standard stat line, if you will, of 3/3 for 3 mana with some upside, this just smashes right through it, right? He comes down, he immediately replaces himself. It's very easy for this to get in an attack with another 2 Yordles to immediately get up to that 6 stats. He may get some bonus stats off of a Yordle Captain. If he gets some bonus stats off of Poppy, he can get quick attack. Like, there's very realistic and easy ways for this unit to attack multiple times and pass out these bonuses multiple times. And then even if it doesn't get that to happen, it gets to replace itself with, importantly, a Yordle. And so that Yordle can get the bonuses from Paparo, can get the bonuses from your Yordle Smiths. Just a lot of build-around synergies coming from this unit, with abilities that play well against a lot of the meta. This tends to be a really aggressive deck that a lot of damage-based removal spells have problems with. And it's this kind of board flood generate units kind of thing has always been kind of a struggle for Pirates. Pirates really struggles against the likes of Fairies since they're able to just generate so many units. You can do a lot of the same thing now with the likes of Paparo, and then if you want to say include Bandle City Mayor to generate some non-Poros, you have non-Poros. If you want to generate some non-Yordles, you have additional ways to go about that as well. I think this is one of the cards that's being slept on quite a bit and is actually going to rise up pretty quickly in the meta. Okay, and then thing number 4, the Winding Light. And so the Nightfall deck has been like right on the edge of being good for quite a while now. It's just missing that like little bit of something that pushes it over the edge. And as we have mentioned for all of the decks up to this point, you have to have that either Elusive, Overwhelm, or Rally. The Nightfall deck didn't really have access to any of that. You could get some kind of weird turn with Nocturne. You could use the 5/4 Overwhelm, the double stuns. But there's no like really good way to come in and close out a game. Had great early game, right? Between Diana just controlling every board, the Pale Cascade making blocks terrible, the Unspeakable Horror to get a bunch of value. Like, it had all of those tools, it just never had the game ender. And now it has the game ender in the Winding Light. Extremely, extremely powerful, especially if it comes down on turn 6. Turn 6, you can have the Nightfall Dust or whatever to make this cost 1 less, and just get this mountain of stats of units on your board. And so if you have the full board of 5 other units, coming down with 16 power for 1 unit is pretty bonkers, especially when it gives all of your other units Overwhelm. There's a good chance it's going to give Diana some bonus attack. Lots of really, really powerful things coming out of this, and I've seen no mention of the Winding Light running across the internet. And so I think this is the world to where we have the potential for a really good darkness deck. and the Winding Light is what's going to push that over the edge. Okay, and thing number 5. I put in my notes, I just called it Tellstones Are Annoying, which, you know, it takes a lot of mental gymnastics to stop and like start thinking about what your opponent can do with the Tellstones. And it's a bit unfortunate that you have to come out and like do all of this thinking. I'm sure some people like to think a lot. I would rather just attack with Annie, but as we play against the Three Sisters, you see this like come up as to where you're like, okay, opponent has like 5 mana. That means opponent can play a Three Sisters, then they can play a Flash Freeze, or they can play a Twin Disciplines, or whatever, the Fury of the North. There we go. They can't play Entomb. And so you're able to kind of like, you have to like stop and think about all that. Now this applies to every faction. And so it's a little unfortunate. It takes like a lot of brain power. I feel like this is one of these things to where new players just don't have to care about it, right? You're not going to be like thinking of all the cards that exist when you're new to the game, so you just like lose it and miss out. The people up in Masters are going to think about it, and it's going to just like kind of quickly become second nature. It sucks that we're going to have to do it, but it is what it is. It's painful for the kind of like middling style player. I don't want to call you a middling player, but if you're just like really getting into the groove of things and playing a lot, the Tellstones and like just bring forth a lot of mental gymnastics that you have to get ready for, and you have to make a conscious decision of, am I going to spend my limited brain power on figuring out what to do this turn? Am I going to spend it on like my general game plan, or am I going to spend it on figuring out what Tellstone my opponent can play? Because they're playing 2 factions, and that means that there's 6 cards I have to worry about now, when I normally wouldn't have to do that. And so I think in terms of the Tellstones, the things that you have to just kind of keep in mind, at least for yourself, are that your opponent can at any time have a combat trick, they can have a removal spell, or a something else kind of factor. And so if we just want to pick on any of these at random, sure, I clicked on Noxus. It's got a removal spell in Whirling Death. It's got a combat trick in Sharpened Resolve. It's got a something else in Weapons of the Lost. Same thing applies. We'll click on the Piltover one. It's got a removal spell in Aftershock. It's got a combat trick in a Hextech Transmogulator, and then it's got a something else in Progress Day. And so you do have to kind of like keep in mind that there's a non-zero chance that your opponent's going to be packing removal spells, and they're going to be packing bad combat tricks when you don't expect it. And so I think it'll take a bit of time for the meta to kind of like sort out what decks want to play the Tellstones, and then I think we'll be able to kind of like reduce the amount of brain power that that goes into these things at that point. But get yourself ready for it. It's going to be a little bit frustrating as the set comes out. We're trying to manage new strategies from both ourselves and our opponent, and then also trying to keep in mind that all these Tellstones exist. And so I think at its core, all of the Tellstones are good, so we're going to see them be played. And then you just have to keep in mind that combat trick, removal spell, something else available to every faction now. And so that is it. I hope our short video here got you ready and hyped for the new set. We're definitely going to come out with our next video and just play a bunch of Annie. Probably just play Annie all week. Who knows, man? But that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. You got yourself all hyped up for the Worldwalker, and you're ready to go for the new Battles with Bust. And so that will do it for us today. We thank everyone for being here.